Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So Targan, it's time to do part 2 of the best arcade racing games you can play on Teknoparrot, because you guys asked me for another video. When I did the first one, the views were good, so we decided to talk about it one more time. And again, if you know me and the channel, you know arcade racing games are my second favorite genre, directly behind light gun games. And honestly, Teknoparrot has some absolute bangers, including Wangan Maximum Midnight Tune 6. I featured one of the games in the first video, but honestly, there's 7 different versions of Wangan that you can play on Teknoparrot, and 6 is one of the later releases, so you're going to get high definition graphics, 16:9 aspect ratio, and just more of an amazing Namco arcade racing game. And I know I said in the original video that you really couldn't go wrong with any of the Wangan games, and that is true, but if you want the most modern experience, something like Wangan Maximum Midnight Tune 6 is going to be for you. And we got a lot of room to cover here as far as arcade racing games are concerned, but before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But Namco obviously is known for the Ridge Racer franchise, but that has not been in arcades for the longest time. But something like Wangan is a continuing series that Namco continues to give us new games in, and I absolutely love them for that. I love running down the Tokyo highway system, avoiding all of the cars and traffic, and just basically throwing everything around I possibly can with my car to try to get that first place finish. And trust me, this game is going to get very hard very quick. You're really going to have to practice and get better if you want to see the checkered flag. But that's what I really love about a game like this. It has depth and complexity, with also maintaining that arcade racing lineage that Namco is so well known for. The drifting, the way the vehicles handle, all of the graphics, all of the traffic you have to avoid when you're playing this game, and you're just weaving in and out of those traffic patterns, just barely missing the vehicles, and you get that first place finish. You feel 100% like you earned it. The AI opponents in the game are going to be absolutely challenging, and it's just going to give you everything you want when it comes to arcade racing. So again, I know I recommended one Wangan game in the first video, so now you have a second to go along for the ride. Now moving over to something that is complete arcade fluff in the best ways possible. This is Hummer Extreme Edition from Sega. This is not Sega's best arcade racing game, it's definitely in their B tier, but when Sega does B tier, that basically means it's A tier for any other developer out there making arcade racing games. Hummer Extreme Edition is just an absolutely wild ride. You're just destroying everything in your path, turboing the ever-loving hell of these SUVs, and just jumping them into places that would absolutely just kill you in real life. It is completely unrealistic, it's over the top, and that's what you want out of an arcade racing game. You want to jump so big that if you actually did it in real life, your spine would compress and pop out of the top of your skull. But in an arcade racing game, you can drive like you imagine you wish you could in real life. And Hummer Extreme Edition gives all of that to you. It's got a very interesting mechanic as well. You're going to see all of these different barrels and things being broken, those little red spheres going into the Hummer, almost like you're collecting power-ups. That is because you are in fact collecting them. You need to destroy things in the game to be able to get that boost meter up so you can actually turbo into the screen. And it's one of those things, if you want to see a first place finish in Hummer Extreme Edition, you're 100% going to have to get good at drifting and destroying everything, because without those turbos, it really is hard to get into the first place position. You might get third or fourth, but it really is the difference, make or break, between winning a race or not. And that's the thing about Sega games. Every single arcade racing game they make is unique and completely different, even though it feels like something else you played before from Sega. And honestly, this one I don't think did very well at arcades, because I never really see a cabinet, and I don't really hear many people talking about it. But trust me, if you want to play another awesome Sega arcade racing game on your PC today that never got a home console port, you could do a lot worse than Hummer Extreme Edition. It's just that classic Sega ridiculousness, and feels a little bit like Dirt Devils from the Sega Model 3. That's about the closest approximation I can think of, at least. It's fast, it's got a great frame rate, it's got some fun drifting, and again, it's another Sega arcade game you can play on Teknoparrot at home, and that means it's one more game that you get to enjoy and that's kept alive outside of arcades. Now, sticking with the OutRun theme, we're moving over to Cruise and Blast. Yes, this got a port to the Nintendo Switch, and yes, it has more courses, but the performance on the arcade side of things is better, and honestly, so are the visuals. The poor Switch just really couldn't keep up with the arcade hardware. If you like Cruisin' USA, World, or Exotica, you're definitely going to love Blast. It's everything you want and nothing less, and it's got a great soundtrack. Listen, and I'll be right back with more. Fun soundtrack, but come on, what other arcade racing game is going to let you run through the course as a dinosaur? There's so many different weird hidden vehicles in this game. There's so many massive jumps. This is basically Cruisin' USA if it found an 8-ball in the back alley, did it, and decided it was going to tear it up in a car directly afterwards. That's how insane this game truly is, and I absolutely love it. There's only 6 courses in the arcade version, but each one of them is absolutely a masterpiece of course design. There's so many different obstacles, so many wild things going on screen at once. There's so many different cars to avoid. It just has all of the Cruisin' USA DNA, but in a modern system, and that is definitely something to be celebrated, because when this got announced, I never thought we'd see another Cruisin' USA based game again, but we got Cruisin' Blast, and it is every bit as good as I'd hoped for. Because I remember when this game first came out, I heard from a friend that there was a couple cabinets downtown at a barcade in Chicago, so I popped on the train, threw some quarters in my pocket, or honestly probably just a 20, and then sat there and played every single course and had a ton of fun. Now, keeping on the dirt theme one more time, we're at Sega Rally 3, and definitely 3 is not as good as Sega Rally or Sega Rally 2, but it is still a ton of fun, and sure, it got ported to a ton of different places, but honestly the arcade version has some incredible graphics and is my preferred way to play just the arcade racing mode. And if you love Sega Rally, you're definitely going to love Sega Rally 3 as well. Maybe not as a pure arcade feel as the first 2 games. Definitely the graphics are a little bit more realistic and lifelike than compared to something like Sega Rally 2 on the Sega Model 3, but it has all that fun and all that charm of a great Sega arcade racing game. And obviously we're at part 2 of Best Teknoparrot Racing Games, and if this does well, you'll see a part 3, and Sega just absolutely ends up on every single one of these videos because they made that many good games back in the day and even in the modern era. They are the undisputed kings of the arcade racing genre in my opinion. If you want to disagree with me, tell me down below who your favorite arcade racing developer is, but I feel like most people are going to back me on that one when I say Sega is the best. I just love the different transitions between different surfaces from tarmac to dirt, how the handling of the vehicle changes completely as it should. There's just so much depth here for an arcade racing game, trying to get around the courses as quick as possible, trying to get the checkered flags and make progression. You are going to have to learn every single turn from the beginning to the end, every single course and every single vehicle and how it handles if you want to get better at a game like this. It just works for me every single time I play it. It is such a fun time, and again, if you have a wheel and pedal set for your PC, Teknoparrot's going to make such great use of it. I love just throwing the wheel left and right to try to get those drifts correct, and when you're in snow here, the car handles completely differently. When you get a good drift in and either barely bump the wall or don't touch it whatsoever, you feel like you could go out into the real world and be a real rally driver, but honestly, do not do that. I'm not responsible for your rally needs. And as we kind of go from snow to tarmac here and back to snow one more time, we're going to go from a dirt theme in the video to a snow theme, because there is another snow-based racer that I absolutely love, and that is Hydro Thunder's sequel, Arctic Thunder. It's basically just Hydro Thunder on snow. It's absolutely ridiculous. You have some combat as well, making it feel a little bit like Road Rash. You have power-ups, and it's just one of those classic arcade games. It is PC based, it works on Teknoparrot, and if you loved Hydro Thunder, you're going to love Arctic Thunder as well. I know we talked about H2 Overdrive in the first video, and I almost put Arctic Thunder directly behind it, but I figured it would be best for its own video. It is just straight up legit so much fun. I absolutely love this game because I rode snowmobiles a lot in my ski career, and it's one of those things that are every bit as wild and uncontrollable as you see here in the game. And what other games are going to let you go into the Capitol building in Washington DC in snow to finish your race? But one more soundtrack sample, 35 seconds or so, but come back as I got more arcade racing games to show.
Checkpoint!
Fun soundtrack for a straight up fun game, and I love Arctic Cylinder's mix between arcade racing, a little bit of a Mario Kart aesthetic, and also the ability to punch left and right and attack your opponents. There's so many fun ways to play this game. The only wrong way is not to play it whatsoever, and maybe if you're just getting into playing arcade games at home on stuff like Teknoparrot, you didn't really hit arcades back in the day when this game was on the store floors, then it's definitely something you're going to enjoy the ever-loving hell out of. Now, one game I have to recommend you play, even though it is not good in any way, shape, or form, is Valve Limit R. I did a video on this maybe a couple months ago and said that it is probably the worst arcade racing game ever to see release in arcades. But the fun part is when we talk about Teknoparrot, when we talk about MAME or any other emulator, we're talking about preservation. Valve Limit R was so bad that there's probably not that many cabinets left in the world because they probably didn't make much money. You played it once and you absolutely just gave up on it and realized it was trash from start to finish. But it is trash that you can play anytime you want on your PC now, and it is absolutely worth experiencing. The cars are basically uncontrollable. We haven't even gotten to the racing yet, but you select a passenger to hang out with, and you can clearly tell the developers are going for a vibe, and that passenger is going to sit in your car and basically moan and yell at you the entire time you're racing. The vehicle does not control for shit. It is near impossible to actually play this game, and if you can get to the end credits, I would be so impressed. I'd love to see someone actually try to do a speed run of Valve Limit R, because when I say these cars control like nothing you've ever driven before in a video game or real life, I 100% mean it. And you see that woman just continually coming in and moaning with the eyes rolling in the back of her head. It's almost like she's having a stroke in your vehicle. Valve Limit R is a perfect masterclass in what not to do when you're making an arcade racing game, but it's also an incredible game to play at your house. Next time you have friends over, you're having a game night, just put this game on and let people try to actually play it. You'll see here, my controls are completely jacked, even though everything is set up correctly, and the game is responding to the analog inputs as it should. It just doesn't work whatsoever when you're actually trying to play the game. It is so buggy, it is so flawed, it is so ridiculously bad. You're going to absolutely be laughing your ass off the entire time you're playing the game, and it is just the fun type of game. If you just sit down and let your friends play it, they're going to absolutely find it hilarious as well. It doesn't have to be good, it just has to be funny, and that's exactly what we're getting here in Valve Limit R. And it really does go to show even bad games do deserve preservation. If this game had been lost, you just hear legends about the worst arcade racing game ever made, but you wouldn't actually be able to play it. And for some strange reason, people love playing the worst X game ever made just to experience it themselves. So something like Teknoparrot keeps that dream alive, and one day I am going to try to find an original PCB for this, even though it is just a PC in the box, because even though it is absolute trash and I do not like the game in any way, shape, or form, I love the game at the same time for how bad it is, and I do want it in my collection. So if you know where there's a Valve Limit R arcade board out there, you may comment down below. I will buy it for the channel and do another video. We're going to go from the worst game in the video to my opinion the best. Wangan 6 is just a straight up banger, 10 out of 10 game. If you like drifting, if you like this kind of anime aesthetic, if you like Initial D, then you have to play Wangan 6. It is so much fun, and do be aware there's 6 and 6R. R is a little bit of an upgrade off the original 6, so definitely grab that one if you're going to play these. And if you do enjoy the Wangan games, let me know down below where the first place you saw one was. I saw one at I think a GameWorks in Chicago. It was an import cabinet because not many came over, and I had kind of heard about the series but never actually got a chance to play it. I sat down, it was next to an Initial D cabinet, threw some credits in, and absolutely fell in love, and I've been playing it ever since. And the best part is with preservation like Teknoparrot, you're able to play the game at home anytime you want. You don't have to go to the arcade, and you can do with that as you will. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I love it. But we're done, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.